A gives his beloved certain rhymes. By William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Fasten your hair with a golden pin, and bind up every wandering tress. I bade my heart build these poor rhymes. It worked at them day out, day in, building a sorrowful loveliness out of the battles of old times. You need but lift a pearl-pale hand and bind up your long hair and sigh, and all men's hearts must burn and beat, and candle-like foam on the dim sand, and stars climbing the dew-dropping sky, live but to light your passing feet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Alexander VI Dines with the Cardinal of Capua by Stephen Vincent Benet. Read for LibriVox.org by Philip Gould. Next then the peacock, gilt with all its feathers. Look, what gorgeous dyes flow in the eyes, and how deep lustrous greens are splashed and spilt along the back, that like a sea wave's crest scatters soft beauty o'er the emblazoned breast. A strange fowl, but most fit for feast like this, whereby I honor one pure as the sun, yet glowing with the fiery zeal of it. Some wine? Your goblet's empty. Let it foam, it is not often that you come to Rome. You like the Venice glass, rippled with lines that float like women's curls, neck like a girl's, fierce glowing as a chalice in the mass. You start. 'Twas artist then, not Pope, who spoke. Ave Maria Stella. Ah, it broke. 'Tis said they break alone when poison writhes within. A foolish tale. What, you look pale. Caraffa, fetch a silver cup. You own a birth of Venus now, or so I've heard, lovely as the breast plumage of a bird. Also a dancing fawn, hewn with the lithe grace of Praxiteles. Globed pearls to please a sultan, golden veils that drop like lawn. How happy I could be with but a tithe of your possessions, fortunate one. Don't writhe, but take these cushions here. Now for the fruit. Great peaches satin-skinned, rough tamarind, pomegranates red as lips. Oh, they come dear, but men like you we feast at any price. A plum, perhaps, they're looking rather nice. I'll cut the thing in half. There's yours. Now with a one-sided poisoned knife one might snuff life and leave one's friend with "fool" for epitaph. An old trick, truth. But when one has the itch for pretty things and isn't very rich. There, eat it all, or I'll be angry. You feel giddy? Well, it's hot. This bergamot take home and smell. It purges blood of bile, and when you kiss Bianca's dimpled knee, think of the poor Pope in his misery. Now you may kiss my ring. Ho there, the Cardinal's litter! You must dine when the new wine is in, again with me. Hear Bice sing. Even admire my frescoes, though they're not beside the calm Greek glories you have bought. God speed Sir Cardinal, and take a weak man's blessing. Help him there to the cool air. Lucrezia here? You're ready for the ball. He'll die within 10 hours, I suppose. Kiss your poor old father, little Rose. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Beyond the Stars by Charles Hanson Towne. Read for LibriVox.org by Elizabeth Parsons. 3 days I heard them grieve when I lay dead. It was so strange to me that they should weep. Tall candles burned about me in the dark, and a great crucifix was on my breast, and a great silence filled the lonesome room. I heard one whisper, "Lo, the dawn is breaking, and he has lost the wonder of the day." Another came, who I had loved on earth, and kissed my brow and brushed my dampened hair. Softly she spoke. Oh, that he should not see the April that his spirit bathed in. Birds are singing in the orchard, and the grass that soon will cover him is growing green. The daisies whiten on the emerald hills, and the immortal magic that he loved wakens again, and he has fallen asleep. Another said, "Last night I saw the moon like a tremendous lantern shine in heaven, and I could only think of him and sob, for I remembered evenings wonderful when he was faint with life's sad loveliness, and watched the silver ribbons wandering far along the shore and out upon the sea. Oh, I remembered how he loved the world, the sighing ocean and the flaming stars, the everlasting glamour God has given, his tapestries that wrap the earth's wide room. I minded me of mornings filled with rain, when he would sit and listen to the sound as if it were lost music from the spheres. He loved the crocus and the hawthorn hedge. He loved the shining gold of buttercups and the low droning of the drowsy bees that boomed across the meadows. He was glad at dawn or sundown, glad when autumn came with her worn livery and scarlet crown, and glad when winter rocked the earth to rest. Strange that he sleeps today when life is young, and the wild banners of the spring are blowing with green inscriptions of the old delight. I heard them whisper in the quiet room. I longed to open then my sealed eyes and tell them of the glory that was mine. There was no darkness where my spirit flew. There was no night beyond the teeming world. Their April was like winter where I roamed. Their flowers were like stones where now I fared. Earth's day. It was as if I had not known what sunlight meant. Yea, even as they grieved for all that I had lost in their pale place, I swung beyond the borders of the sky and floated through the clouds, myself the air, myself the ether, yet a matchless being whom God had snatched from penury and pain to draw across the barricades of heaven. I clomb beyond the sun, beyond the moon. In flight on flight, I touched the highest star. I plunged to regions where the spring is born. Myself, I asked not how, the April wind, myself the elements that are of God. Up flowery stairways of eternity, I whirled in wonder and untrammeled joy, an atom, yet a portion of his dream that knows no end. I was the rain, I was the dawn, I was the purple east, I was the moonlight on enchanted nights, yet time was lost to me. I was a flower for one to pluck who loved me. I was bliss and rapture, splendid moments of delight, and I was prayer and solitude and hope, and always, always, always I was love. I tore asunder flimsy doors of time, and through the windows of my soul's new sight, I saw beyond the ultimate bounds of space. I was all things that I had loved on earth, the very moonbeam in that quiet room, the very sunlight one had dreamed I lost, the soul of the returning April grass, the spirit of the evening and the dawn, the perfume in unnumbered hawthorn blooms. There was no shadow on my perfect peace, no knowledge that was hidden from my heart. I learned what music meant. I read the years. I found where rainbows hide, where tears began. I trod the precincts of things yet unborn. Yea, while I found all wisdom being dead, they grieved for me. I should have grieved for them. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Children's Party by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Children's Party. What a merry, merry rout! See the wee ones dance about. Dickie's leading off the ball. There, he almost had a fall. Who's his partner in the whirls? Rosiest of all the girls. But a doll, you say? Dancing in that sprightly way? Well, I never! Oh, see there! See, just see those horses tear! Meg and Madge will sure be thrown. What a vicious-looking roan! Not a real live horse, you say, prancing in that frightful way? Well, I never! Toys to-day surely seem more real than play. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Crystal Cabinet by William Blake, 1757 to 1827. Read for LibriVox.org. The Crystal Cabinet. The maiden caught me in the wild, where I was dancing merrily. She put me into her cabinet, and locked me up with a golden key. The cabinet is formed of gold, and pearl, and crystal shining bright. And within it opens into a world, and a little lovely moony night. Another England there I saw, another London with its tower, another Thames and other hills, and another pleasant Surrey bower. Another maiden like herself, translucent, lovely, shining clear, threefold, each in the other closed. Oh, what a pleasant, trembling fear! Oh, what a smile, a threefold smile filled me that like a flame I burned. I bent to kiss the lovely maid, and found a threefold kiss returned. I strove to seize the inmost form with ardor fierce and hands of flame, but burst the crystal cabinet, and like a weeping babe became. A weeping babe upon the wild, and weeping woman pale reclined. And in the outward air again I filled with woes the passing wind. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Domestic Asides by Tom Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Linda Olson-Fytak, Los Angeles. I really take it very kind, this visit, Mrs. Skinner. I have not seen you such an age. The wretch has come to dinner. Your daughters, too, what loves of girls, what heads for painters' easels. Come here and kiss the infant dears, and give it perhaps the measles. Your charming boys, I see are home from Reverend Mr. Russell's. 'Twas very kind to bring them both. What boots for my new Brussels! What? Little Clara left at home? Well now, I call that shabby. I should have loved to kiss her so, a flabby-dabby babby. And Mr. S., I hope he's well, although he lives so handy. He never drops in now to sup, the better for our brandy. Come, take a seat. I long to hear about Matilda's marriage. You've come, of course, to spend the day. Thank heaven, I hear the carriage. What, must you go? Next time, I hope, you'll give me longer measure. Nay, I shall see you down the stairs, with most uncommon pleasure. Good-bye, good-bye. Remember all, next time you'll take your dinners. Now, David, mind, I'm not at home in future to the Skinners. By permission of Messrs. Ward, Locke and Company. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Epitaph to a Dog by George Gordon Byron. LibriVox.org by Phil Schampf. Near this spot are deposited the remains of one who possessed beauty without vanity, strength without insolence, courage without ferocity, and all the virtues of man without his vices. This praise, which would be unmeaning flattery if inscribed over human ashes, is but a just tribute to the memory of Bosun, a dog, who was born in Newfoundland, May, 1803, and died in Newstead, November 18th, 1808. When some proud son of man returns to earth, unknown to glory but upheld by birth, the sculptor's art exhausts the pomp of woe, and storied urns record who rests below. When all is done, upon the tomb is seen not what he was, but what he should have been. But the poor dog, in life the firmest friend, the first to welcome, foremost to defend, whose honest heart is still his master's own, who labors, fights, lives, breathes for him alone, unhonored falls, unnoticed all his worth, denied in heaven the soul he held on earth, while man, vain insect, hopes to be forgiven, and claims himself a sole exclusive heaven. O man, thou feeble tenant of an hour, debased by slavery or corrupt by power, who knows thee well must quit thee with disgust, degraded mass of animated dust. Thy love is lust, thy friendship all a cheat, thy tongue hypocrisy, thy heart deceit, by nature vile, ennobled but by name. Each kindred brute might bid thee blush for shame. Ye, who behold perchance this simple urn, pass on, it honors none you wish to mourn. To mark a friend's remains these stones arise. I never knew but one, and here he lies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Erlking by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, 1749 to 1832, translated by Frederick Henry Hedge, 1805 to 1890. Read for LibriVox.org. The Erlking. Who rideth so late through the night wind wild? It is the father with his child. He has the little one well in his arm, he holds him safe, and he folds him warm. My son, why hidest thy face so shy? Seest thou not, father, the Erlking nigh? The Erlin king with train and crown? It is a wreath of mist, my son. Come, lovely boy, come, go with me. Such merry plays I will play with thee. Many a bright flower grows on the strand, and my mother has many a gay garment at hand. My father, dost thou not hear what the Erlking whispers in my ear? Be quiet, my darling, be quiet, my child. Through withered leaves the wind howls wild. Come, lovely boy, wilt thou go with me? My daughters fair shall wait on thee. My daughters their nightly revels keep. They'll sing and they'll dance and they'll rock thee to sleep. My father, and seest thou not the Erlking's daughters in yon dim spot? My son, I see and I know 'tis the old gray willow that shimmers so. I love thee, thy beauty has ravished my sense, and willing or not I will carry thee hence. O father, the Erlking now puts forth his arm. O father, the Erlking has done me harm. The father shudders, he hurries on, and faster he holds his moaning son. He reaches his home with fear and dread, and lo! in his arms the child was dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Eurydice by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. To Victor Hugo. Orpheus, the night is full of tears and cries, and hardly for the storm and ruin shed, Can even thine eyes be certain of her head, who never passed out of thy spirit's eyes, but stood and shone before them in such wise as when with love her lips and hands were fed, and with mute mouth out of the dusty dead strove to make answer when thou bad'st her rise. Yet viper stricken must her life-blood feel the fang that stung her sleeping, the foul germ, even when she wakes, of hell's most poisonous worm, though now it writhe beneath her wounded heel. Turn yet, she will not fade nor fly from thee. Wait, and see hell yield up Eurydice. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Fall of the Leaf by Richard Watson Dixon. Read for LibriVox.org by Elizabeth Parsons. Rise in their place the woods, the trees have cast, like earth to earth, their children now they stand, above the graves where lie their very last. Each pointing with her empty hand, and mourning o'er the russet floor, naked and dispossessed, the queenly sycamore, the linden and the aspen, and the rest. But thou, fair birch, doubtful to laugh or weep, who timorously dost keep from the sad falling ring thy face away, wouldst thou look to the heavens which wander gray, the unstill clouds slow mounting on their way? They not regard thee, neither do they send one breath to wake thy sighs, nor gently tend thy sorrow or thy smile to passion's end. Lo, there on high the unlighted moon is hung, a cloud among the clouds. She giveth pledge, which none from hope debars, of hours that shall the naked boughs refledge. In seasons high, her drifted train among, musing she leads the silent song, grave mistress of white clouds, as lucid queen of stars. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fickle Summer by Robert F. Murray. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Fickle summer's fled away. Shall we see her face again? Hearken to the weeping rain. Never sunbeam greets the day. More inconstant than the May, she cares nothing for our pain, nor will hear the birds complain in their bowers that once were gay. Summer, summer, come once more. Drive the shadows from the field. All thy radiance round thee fling. Be our Lady as of yore. Then the earth her fruit shall yield. Then the morning stars shall sing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Heart's Ease by Caroline Clive. Read for LibriVox.org by Elizabeth Parsons. O heart's ease, dost thou lie within that flower? How shall I draw thee thence? So much I need the healing aid of thine enshrined power, to veil the past and bid the time good speed. I gather it, it withers on my breast. The heart's ease dies when it is laid to mine. Methinks there is no shape by joy possessed would better fare than thou upon that shrine. Take from me things gone by, oh, change the past, renew the lost, restore me the decayed. Bring back the days whose tide has ebbed so fast. Give form again to the fantastic shade. My hope that never grew to certainty, my youth that perished in its vain desire, my fond ambition crushed ere it could be, aught save a self-consuming, wasted fire. Bring these anew, and set me once again in the delusion of life's infancy. I was not happy, but I knew not then that happy I was never doomed to be. Till these things are, and powers divine descend, love, kindness, joy, and hope to gild my day, in vain the emblem leaves towards me bend, thy spirit, heart ease, is too far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
How Rifleman Brown Came to Valhalla by Gilbert Franco. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. To the lower hall of Valhalla, to the heroes of no renown, relieved from his spell at the listening post, came Rifleman Joseph Brown. With never a rent in his khaki, nor smear of blood on his face, he flung his pack from his shoulders and made for an empty place. The killer men of Valhalla looked up from the banquet board at the unfouled breech of his rifle and the unfleshed point of his sword. And the unsung dead of the trenches, the kings who have never a crown, demanded his pass to Valhalla from Rifleman Joseph Brown. Who comes unhit to the party? A one-legged corporal spoke, and the gashed heads nodded approval through the rings of the endless smoke. Who comes for the beer and the woodbines of the never-closed canteen, with a barrack shine on his bayonet and a full-charged magazine? Then Rifleman Brown looked round him at the nameless men of the line, at the wounds of the shell and the bullet, at the burns of the bomb and the mine, at the khaki, virgin of metals, but crimson clotted of blood, at the ankle boots and the puttees caked stiff with the Flanders mud, at the myriad short Lee Enfields that crowded the rifle rack, each with its blade to the sword boss brown and its muzzle powder black. And Rifleman Brown said never a word, but he felt in the soul of his soul his right to the beer of the lower hall, though he came to drink of it whole, his right to the fags of the free canteen, to his seat at the banquet board, though he came to the men who had killed their man with an unfleshed point to his sword. Who speaks for the stranger riflemen, O boys of the free canteen? Who passes the chap with the unmaimed limbs and the kit that is far too clean? The gashed heads eyed him above their beers, the gashed lips sucked at their smoke. There were 3 at the board of his own platoon, but not a man of them spoke. His mouth was mad for the tankard froth and the biting whiff of a fag, but he knew that he might not speak for himself to the dead men who do not brag. A gun butt crashed on the portals. A man came staggering in. His head was cleft with a great red wound from the temple bone to the chin. His blade was dyed to the bayonet boss with the clots that were scarcely dry. And he cried to the men who had killed their man, "Who passes the rifleman? I. By the 4 I slew and the shell I stopped, if my feet be not too late. I speak the word for Rifleman Brown, that a chap may speak for his mate. The dead of lower Valhalla, the heroes of dumb renown, they pricked up their ears to a tale of the earth as they set their tankards down. We were both on sentry this morning when the general happened along. He asked us our job in a gas attack. Joe told him, "Beat on the gong."
"What else?" "Nothing else, sir," Joe answered. "Good God, man," our general said. "By the time you'd beaten that blood-stained gong, the chances are you'd be dead. You'd put on your gas helmet, blast you, and you'd damn well put it on first." And Joe stood dumb to attention and wondered why he'd been cursed. The gashed heads turned to the rifleman, and now it seemed that they knew why the face that had never a smear of blood was stained to the jawbones blue. It was black tonight in the trenches. The scarred heads craned to the voice, as the man with the blood-red bayonet spoke up for the mate of his choice. "You know what it's like in the listening post, with the very candles aflare, their bullets smacking the sandbags, our vicars combing your hair, how your ears and your eyes get jumpy, till each known tuft that you scan moves and crawls in the shadows till you'd almost swear it was man. You know how you peer and snuff at the night when the northeast gast winds blow. By the one who made us and maimed us, quoth lower Valhalla, we know." He was 40 yards from the Boches when, sudden as hell, there came the crash of a dozen machine guns, the orange spurts of their flame. And Joe stood up in the whistling spray to try and fathom their game. Sudden their guns cease firing. Sudden his nostrils sniff the sickening reek of the rotten pears, the death that kills with a whiff. Sniffs and spots what their game is, and bangs on his cartridge case, with the gas cloud's teeth in his windpipe and the gas cloud's claws on his face. We heard his gong in our dugout. He only whacked on it twice. We whipped our gas bags over our heads and tucked them down in a trice. For the gas would have got us as sure as God if he'd taken the staff's advice. His head was cleft with a great red wound from the chin to the temple bone, but his voice was as clear as a sounding gong. "I'll be damned if I'll drink alone. Not even in lower Valhalla. Is he free of the free canteen, my mate who comes with the unfleshed point and the full-charged magazine?" The gashed heads rose at the rifleman o'er the rings of the endless smoke, and loud as the roar of 1,000 guns Valhalla's answers broke, and loud as the crash of 1,000 shells their tankards clashed on the board. "He is free of the mess of the killer men, your mate of the unfleshed sword. For we know the worth of the thing he did, as we know the speed of the death, which catches its man by the back of the throat and gives him water for breath, as we know how the hand at the helmet cloth may tarry seconds too long, when the very life of the front-line trench is staked on the beat of a gong. By the four you slew, by the case he smote, by the red gas cloud and the green, we pass your mate for the endless smoke and the beer of the free canteen. In the lower hall of Valhalla, with the heroes of no renown, with our nameless dead of the Marne and the Aisne, of Mons and of Wipers Town, with the men who killed ere they died for us, sits Rifleman Joseph Brown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
If Love is a Sweet Bondage by Madame de Sévigné, translated from French by Hugo Paul Thieme. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. If Love is a Sweet Bondage. If love is a sweet bondage, if we cannot esteem too much the pleasures in which love engages, how foolish one is not to love. But if we feel ourselves inflamed with a passion whose ardour is extreme, and which we dare not express, how foolish we are then to love. If in the flower of her youth there is one who could charm all, and offers you her heart to share, how very foolish not to love. But if we must always be full of alarm, fear, blush, and become pallid, as soon as our name is spoken, how foolish to love. If to please the most beautiful countenance that love can ever form, only a mellow language is necessary, how foolish not to love. But if we see ourselves wasting away, if the bell is always the same, and cannot be animated, how very foolish to love. Envoy. If in love nothing is bitter, how dreadfully foolish not to love. If everything is so to the highest degree, how awfully foolish to love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Irish Language by Roger Casement. Read for LibriVox.org by Linda Olsen Freitag, Los Angeles. It is gone from the hill and the glen, the strong speech of our sires. It is sunk in the mire and the fen of our nameless desires. We have bartered the speech of the gale for a tongue that would pay, and we stand with the lips of us pale and all bloodless today. We have bartered the birthright of men, that our sons should be liars. It is gone from the hill and the glen, the strong speech of our sires. Like the flicker of gold on the wind that the spring breath unites, it is deep in our hearts, and shall win into flame where it smites. It is there with the blood in our veins, with the stream in the glen, with the hill and the heath and the winds, they shall think it again. It shall surge to their lips, and shall win the high road to our rights, like the flicker of gold on the wind that the sunburst unites. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love Athirst by Ruth Bassett Eddy, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Last night, do you recall? You turned your head and laid your lips to mine as we lay there under the stars. The sweetness of the night somehow became a part of that long kiss, until, grown weak with passion, you fell asleep. But I could not find rest. The lips that clung to mine no longer gave a passionate response. They were soft and warm and still against my own, the lips of a contented, sleepy child. And oh, I was ashamed to feel desire to take from your unconscious lips the drink love had to offer you and me. I would have been content to let the hours go on toward endless time, if I could lie against your body's close and yielding warmth, heart to heart and breath to breath, my mouth against your own, until I knew the sweet exhaustion that had given you sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Midnight by Robert F. Murray. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The air is dark and fragrant with memories of a shower, and sanctified with stillness by this most holy hour. The leaves forget to whisper of soft and secret things, and every bird is silent with folded eyes and wings. O blessed hour of midnight, of sleep and of release, thou yieldest to the toiler the wages of thy peace. And I who have not labored, nor borne the heat of noon, receive thy tranquil quiet, an undeserved boon. Yes, truly, God is gracious, who makes his sun to shine upon the good and evil, and idle lives like mine. Upon the just and unjust he sends his rain to fall, and gives this hour of blessing freely alike to all.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Heart Leaps Up When I Behold, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began, so is it now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow old, or let me die. The child is father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Own Heart by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. My own heart let me have more pity on. Let me live to my sad self, hereafter kind, charitable, not live this tormented mind with this tormented mind tormenting yet. I cast for comfort I can no more get by groping round my comfortless, than blind eyes in their dark can day or thirst can find. Thirst's all in all a world of wet. Soul, self, come poor Jack Self, I do advise you, jaded, let be. Call off thoughts awhile elsewhere. Leave comfort root room. Let joy sighs at God knows when to God knows what. Whose smiles not wrong, see you, unforeseen times rather, as skies between Pie mountains, lights a lovely mile. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode, Autumn, by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. 1. I saw old Autumn in the misty morn stand shadowless, like silence, listening to silence, for no lonely bird would sing into his hollow ear from woods forlorn, nor lowly hedge, nor solitary thorn, shaking his languid locks all dewy bright, with tangled gossamer that fell by night, pearling his coronet of golden corn. 2. Where are the songs of summer? With the sun, opening the dusky eyelids of the south, till shade and silence waken up as one, and morning sings with a warm, odorous mouth. Where are the merry birds? Away, away on panting wings through the inclement skies, lest owls should prey, undazzled at noonday, and tear with horny beak their lustrous eyes. 3. Where are the blooms of summer? In the west, blushing their last to the last sunny hours, when the mild eve by sudden night is pressed, like tearful Proserpine, snatched from her flowers to a most gloomy breast. Where is the pride of summer? The green prime, the many, many leaves all twinkling? 3 on the mossed elm, 3 on the naked lime trembling, and 1 upon the old oak tree. Where is the dryad's immortality? Gone into mournful cypress and dark yew, or wearing the long gloomy winter through in the smooth holly's green eternity. 4. The squirrel gloats on his accomplished hoard, the ants have brimmed their garners with ripe grain, and honey bees have stored the sweets of summer in their luscious cells. The swallows all have winged across the main, but here the autumn melancholy dwells, and sighs her tearful spells amongst the sunless shadows of the plain. Alone, alone, upon a mossy stone, she sits, and reckons up the dead and gone, with the last leaves for a love rosary, whilst all the withered world looks drearily, like a dim picture of the drowned past, in the hushed mind's mysterious far away, doubtful what ghostly thing will steal the last into that distance, grey upon the grey. 5. O go and sit with her, and be o'ershaded under the languid downfall of her hair. She wears a coronal of flowers faded upon her forehead, and a face of care. There is enough of winter everywhere to make her bower, and enough of gloom. There is enough of sadness to invite, if only for the rose that died, whose doom is beauty's, she that with living bloom of conscious cheeks most beautifies the light. There is enough of sorrowing, and quite enough of bitter fruits the earth doth bear, enough of chilly droppings for her bowl, enough of fear and shadowy despair, to frame her cloudy prison for the soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Punning by Theodore Hook. Read for LibriVox.org by Philip Gould. My little dears who learn to read, pray early learn to shun that very silly thing indeed which people call a pun. Read Entick's rules, and 'twill be found how simple an offense it is to make the selfsame sound afford a double sense. For instance, ale may make you ail, your aunt an ant may kill, you in a vale may buy a veil, and Bill may pay the bill. Or if to France your bark may steer, at Dover it may be, a peer appears upon the pier, who, blind, still goes to see. Thus one might say, when to a treat good friends accept our greeting, 'tis meet that men who meet to eat should eat their meat when meeting. Brawn on the board's no bore indeed, although from boar prepared, nor can the fowl on which we feed foul feeding be declared. Thus one ripe fruit may be a pear, and yet be pared again, and still no one, which seemeth rare until we do explain. It therefore should be all your aim to spell with ample care, for who, however fond of game, would choose to swallow hare? A fat man's gait may make us smile, who has no gate to close. The farmer sitting on his stile no stylish person knows. Perfumers, men of sense must be, some silly men are bright. A brown man oft deep red we see, a black a wicked white. Most wealthy men good manners have, however vulgar they, and actors still the harder slave the oftener they play. So poets can't the bays obtain unless their tailors choose, while grooms and coachmen not in vain each evening seek the muse. The dyer, who by dyeing lives a dyer life maintains, the glazier, it is known, receives his profits for his pains. By gardeners time is tide, 'tis true, when spring is in its prime, but time and tide won't wait for you if you are tied for time. Thus now you see, my little dears, the way to make a pun, a trick which you through coming years should sedulously shun. The fault admits of no defense, for wheresoe'er 'tis found, you sacrifice the sound for sense. the sense is never sound. So let your words and actions too one single meaning prove, and just in all you say or do you'll gain esteem and love. In mirth and play no harm you'll know when duty's task is done, but parents ne'er should let ye go unpunished for a pun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poetics by Robert Browning, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. So say the foolish so, love? Flower she is, my rose, or else my very swan is she, or perhaps yon maid moon blessing earth below, love, that art thou. To them belike, no such vain words from me. Hush, rose, blush, no balm-like breath, I chide it. Bend thy neck its best, swan, hers the whiter curve. Be the moon, my love I place beside it. What is she? Her human self, no lower word will serve. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Psalm of Fortitude by Joseph Furphy, read for LibriVox by Josh Middledorf. Are you, like me, a peevish brat with feelings extra fine? Are you disposed to whip the cat when misadventure lays you flat? Then paste this memo on your hat: a man should never whine. The axiom is no safeguard rare, nor talisman divine, for deaf to bounce as well as prayer. Grim fate will never turn a hair, but still the principle is there: a man should never whine. When Answers spurns your doggerel lay, he often paskets mine, and balks you of renown and pay, squirm not, but laugh and darkly say, Ha, tyrant, there will come a day. A bard should never whine. Should Gladys freeze you from her sight, don't languish or repine, but let her know in terms polite that she has made your future bright. Then marry Ermintrude for spite. A bloke should never whine. A killing frost may nip your buds, there's Wolsey as a sign. You may forego your stylish duds and trade away your pin and studs to live on bandicooted spuds, but you must never whine. Religiously your cake is dough, you haven't walked the line. Peter won't know you from a crow, so your address must be below, where socialists and such like go. Still you must never whine. But even should repentance come, don't supplicate and pine. Seek out the corybantic scrum, and caper round the mighty drum, and make salvation fairly hum. A saint should never whine. Beneath such petty details lies calm nature's great design, that we on stepping stones should rise, and any decent chap who tries to score some points before he dies can surely never whine. Things standing thus, it is not nice to rate yourself a swine. Just let this argument suffice: an abject whimper cuts no ice, but only tends to lower your price. A man should never whine. End of A Psalm of Fortitude by Joseph Furphy. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. A Psalm of Patience by Joseph Furphy, read for LibriVox by Josh Middledorf. O kid with face of healthy tan, with lunch bag, books, and slate, you needn't long to be a man, self-confident and great, for ever since the world began, each boy must spring to nature's plan, must worry through as best he can. Make up your mind to wait. O young galoot, you find it rough, this iron hand of fate. Your confidence is mostly bluff, and doubts preponderate. Are you the genuine all-wool stuff? Are you a daisy or a muff? Patience, you'll find out soon enough, if only you can wait. Oh, baffled bloke with no resource, whose knowledge comes too late, whose prospects change from bad to worse, till hope gives place to hate, sick of existence and perforce impatient for the long divorce. You'll get your call to proper course, take my advice and wait. O geezer, drawing near the test that none may obviate, don't waste your time in fruitless quest, ray man's post-mortem state. That doubt will soon be set to rest, you'll be extinguished, grilled, or blessed, or spook the world from east to west. Meanwhile, you'll have to wait. End of a Psalm of Patience. A Psalm of Subjection, read for LibriVox by Josh Middledorf. Nurse your unconquerable soul, but diligently bear in mind that life is not a wayward stroll, for circumstance asserts control, and fiercely prods you up behind. This dictum you can safely trust, growl you may, but go you must. Though you may shaft with all your might, and kick against the goad like Paul, though you may prop and squeal and bite, you still put up a losing fight, unconquerable soul and all, still subject to compulsion's thrust, growl you may, but go you must. Have done with bluff for Satan's sake. A bulrush never can be strong. You're overmatched, make no mistake. The option is to bend or break. In either case, you're forced along. And what avails your cheap disgust? Growl you may, but go you must. In point of fact, your name is Sludge, and puppet-like your lot is cast. For though you may rebel and grudge, and spitefully refuse to budge, your claim will be pegged out at last. Sludge to sludge, and dust to dust, growl you may, but go you must. Next hear St. Peter's challenge keen, My son, you've failed to nick a goal. In headstrong wickedness serene, you feared not parson, king, or queen. Your Bible was the bulletin. Wherefore your name is off the roll. No picnic on these meadows green, no part in this celestial scene for your unconquerable soul. March down yon steps, the doom is just. Growl you may, but go you must. End of Psalm of Subjection.
Down by the Sally Gardens by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Down by the Sally Gardens my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy, as the leaves grow on the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy, as the grass grows on the weirs. But I was young and foolish, and now am full of tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
September 1889 by Louise Brooks. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Summer is passing. Lo, the first sure mark, the golden lines September comes to trace across the shortening day with shining grace. The upland yonder, that erewhile was dark, shows gleaming russet now. The elms of the park hang yellow fringes. Darting shadows chase along the lawn, or tremble and enlace on groundwork glistening with a golden spark. Pale yellow butterflies float in the air, in mazy dances up and down they fly. For summer's parting gifts to autumn they bear lightly, touching here and resting there. September's robes are flushed with golden dye, and magic mists enwrap each shortening day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sibyl by Thomas Gordon Hake. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. A maid who, mindful of her playful time, steps to her summer, bearing childhood on to woman's beauty, heedless of her prime. The early day, but not the pastime gone. She is the Sibyl, uttering a doom out of her spotless bloom. She is the Sibyl. Seek not then her voice, a laugh, a song, a sorrow, but thy share, with woes at hand for many who rejoice, that she shall utter, that shall many hear, that warn all hearts who seek of her their fates, her love but one awaits. She is the Sibyl. Days that distant lie bend to the promise that her word shall give. Already has she eyes that prophesy, for of her beauty shall all beauty live. Unknown to her, in her slow opening bloom, she turns the leaves of doom. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Skating by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by Melanie T. Over the ice she flies, perfect and poised and fair. Stars in my true love's eyes teach me to do and to dare. Now will I fly as she flies. Woe for the stars that misled, stars that I saw in her eyes, now do I see in my head. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Song of Truce by Robert F. Murray. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Till the tread of marching feet through the quiet, grass-grown street of the little town shall come, soldier, rest awhile at home, while the banners idly hang, while the bugles do not clang, while is hushed the clamorous drum. Soldier, rest awhile at home. In the breathing time of death, while the sword is in its sheath, while the cannon's mouth is dumb, soldier, rest awhile at home. Not too long the rest shall be, soon enough to death and thee the assembly call shall come. Soldier, rest awhile at home.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Summer and Autumn by Richard Henry Stoddard. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. The hot midsummer, the bright midsummer, reigns in its glory now. The earth is scorched with a golden fire. There are berries, dead ripe, on every briar, and fruits on every bough. But the autumn days, so sober and calm, steeped in a dreamy haze, when the uplands all with harvests shine, and we drink the wind like a fine cool wine. Ah, those are the best of days. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tribute to the Memory of the Same Dog by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shemp. Lie here without a record of thy worth, beneath a covering of the common earth. It is not from unwillingness to praise, or want of love, that here no stone we raise. More thou deserv'st, but this man gives to man, brother to brother. This is all we can. Yet they to whom thy virtues made thee dear shall find thee through all changes of the year. This oak points out thy grave. The silent tree will gladly stand a monument of thee. We grieve for thee, and wish thy end were past, and willingly have laid thee here at last. For thou hadst lived till everything that cheers in thee had yielded to the weight of years. Extreme old age had wasted thee away, and left thee but a glimmering of the day. Thy ears were deaf, and feeble were thy knees. I saw thee stagger in the summer breeze, too weak to stand against its sportive breath, and ready for the gentlest stroke of death. It came, and we were glad, yet tears were shed. Both man and woman wept when thou wert dead. Not only for 1,000 thoughts that were, old household thoughts, in which thou hadst thy share, but for some precious boons vouchsafed to thee, found scarcely anywhere in like degree. For love, that comes wherever life and sense are given by God, in thee was most intense. A chain of heart, a feeling of the mind, a tender sympathy which did thee bind not only to us men, but to thy kind. Yea, for thy fellow brutes in thee we saw a soul of love, love's intellectual law. Hence, if we wept, it was not done in shame. Our tears from passion and from reason came, and therefore shalt thou be an honored name. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Two Thrones by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org. I rose up at the dawn of day. Get thee away! Get thee away! Prayest thou for riches? Away! Away! This is the throne of Mammon Grey. I said, this sure is very odd. I took it to be the throne of God. Everything else besides I have, it's only riches I can crave. I have mental joys and mental health, mental friends and mental wealth. I've a wife that I love and that loves me. I've all but riches bodily. I am in God's presence night and day. He never turns his face away. The accuser of sins by my side does stand, and he holds my money bags in his hand. For my worldly things God makes him pay, and he'd pay for more if to him I would pray. And you may do the worst you can do. Be assured, Mr. Devil, I won't pray to you. Then, if for riches I must not pray, God knows I little of prayers need say. So, as the church is known by its steeple, If I pray, it must be for other people. He says, if I don't worship him for a god, I shall eat coarser food and go worse shod. But as I don't value such things as these, you must do, Mr. Devil, just as God please. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Walrus and the Carpenter by Lewis Carroll. Read for LibriVox.org by Linda Olson Freitag, Los Angeles. The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd, because it was the middle of the night. The moon was shining sulkily, because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. "It's very rude of him," she said, "to come and spoil the fun." The sea was wet as wet could be. The suns were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead. There were no birds to fly. The Walrus and the Carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If this were only cleared away, they said, it would be grand. If 7 maids with 7 mops swept it for half a year, do you suppose, the Walrus said, that they could get it clear? I doubt it, said the Carpenter, and shed a bitter tear. "Oh, oysters, come and walk with us," the Walrus did beseech. "A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk, along the briny beach. We cannot do with more than 4, to give a hand to each." The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed. But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for the treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd, because, you know, they hadn't any feet. 4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4. And thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore. The Walrus and the Carpenter walked on a mile or so, and then they rested on a rock conveniently low, and all the little oysters stood and waited in a row. "The time has come," the Walrus said, "to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings." "But wait a bit," the oysters cried, "before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath, and all of us are fat." "No hurry," said the Carpenter. They thanked him much for that. "A loaf of bread," the Walrus said, "is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed." "But not on us," the oysters cried, turning a little blue. "After such kindness that would be a dismal thing to do." "The night is fine," the Walrus said. "Do you admire the view?" "It was so kind of you to come, and you are very nice." The Carpenter said nothing, but cut us another slice. "I wish you were not quite so deaf. I've had to ask you twice." "It seems a shame," the Walrus said, "to play them such a trick, after we've brought them out so far and made them trot so quick." The Carpenter said nothing, but the butter's spread too thick. "I weep for you," the Walrus said. "I deeply sympathize." With sobs and tears he sorted out those of the largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his streaming eyes. "Oh, oysters," said the Carpenter, "you've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again? but answer came there none, and this was scarcely odd, because they'd eaten every one. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
What Lover Best by Helen Hunt Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. 1. What lover best his love doth prove and show? The one whose words are swiftest love to state, the one who measures out his love by weight, in costly gifts which all men see and know? Nay, words are cheap and easy, they may go for what men think them worth, or soon or late they are but air. And gifts? Still cheaper rate are they at which men barter to and fro, where love is not. One thing remains. O love, thou hast so seldom seen it on the earth, no name for it has ever sprung to birth, to give one's own life up one's love to prove, not in the martyr's death, but in the dearth of daily life's most wearing daily groove. 2. And unto him who this great thing hath done, what does great love return? No speedy joy. That swift delight which beareth large alloy is guerdon love bestowed on him who won a lesser trust. The happiness begun in happiness of happiness may cloy, and, its own subtle foe, itself destroy. But steadfast, tireless, quenchless as the sun, doth grow that gladness which hath root in pain. Earth's common griefs assail this soul in vain. Great Love himself, too poor to pay such debt, doth borrow God's great peace, which passeth yet all understanding. Full tenfold again is found the life laid down without regret. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When Summer's End is Nighing by A. Houseman. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. When summer's end is nighing and skies at evening cloud, I muse on change and fortune and all the feats I vowed when I was young and proud. The weathercock at sunset would lose the slanted ray, and I would climb the beacon that looked to Wales away, and saw the last of day. From hill and cloud and heaven the hues of evening died. Night welled through lane and hollow and hushed the countryside, but I had a youth and pride. And I with earth and nightfall in converse high would stand, late till the west was ashen and darkness hard at hand, and the eye lost the land. The year might age, and cloudy the lessening day might close, but air of other summers breathed from beyond the snows, and I had hope of those. They came and were and are not, and come no more anew, and all the years and seasons that ever can ensue must now be worse and few. So here's an end of roaming on eves when autumn nighes. The ear too fondly listens for summer's parting sighs, and then the heart replies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Young Charlotte by an unknown author. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter Yearsley. Young Charlotte lived by a mountainside in a wild and lonely spot. There was no village for miles around except her father's cot. And yet on many a wintry night young boys would gather there. Her father kept a social board, and she was very fair. One New Year's Eve, as the sun went down, she cast a wistful eye out from the window pane as a merry sleigh went by. At a village 15 miles away was to be a ball that night. Although the air was piercing cold, her heart was merry and light. At last her laughing eye lit up as a well-known voice she heard, and dashing in front of the door her lover's sleigh appeared. "O daughter dear," her mother said, "this blanket round you fold. 'Tis such a dreadful night abroad, and you will catch your death of cold." "Oh no, oh no," young Charlotte cried, as she laughed like a gypsy queen, "to ride in blankets muffled up I never would be seen. My silken coat is quite enough, you know it is lined throughout, and there is my silken scarf to wrap my head and neck about." Her bonnet and her gloves were on, she jumped into the sleigh, and swiftly slid down the mountain side and over the hills away. All muffled up, so silent, 5 miles at last were past, when Charlie, with few but shivering words, the silence broke at last. "Such a dreadful night I never saw, my reins I can scarcely hold." Young Charlotte then feebly said, "I am exceedingly cold." He cracked his whip and urged his speed much faster than before, while at least 5 other miles in silence had passed o'er. Spoke Charles, "How fast the freezing ice is gathering on my brow." Young Charlotte then feebly said, "I'm growing warmer now." So on they sped through the frosty air and the glittering cold starlight, until at last the village lights and the ballroom came in sight. They reached the door, and Charles sprang out and reached his hands to her. "Why sit you there like a monument that has no power to stir?" He called her once, he called her twice, she answered not a word, and then he called her once again, but still she never stirred. He took her hand in his, 'twas cold and hard as any stone. He tore the mantle from her face, while cold stars on it shone. Then quickly to the lighted hall her lifeless form he bore. Young Charlotte's eyes were closed forever, her voice was heard no more. And there he sat down by her side while bitter tears did flow, and cried, "My own, my charming bride, you never more shall know." He twined his arms around her neck and kissed her marble brow, and his thoughts flew back to where she said, "I'm growing warmer now." He took her back into the sleigh and quickly hurried home. When he arrived at her father's door, oh, how her friends did mourn. They mourned the loss of a daughter dear, while Charles wept over the gloom, till at last he died with the bitter grief. Now they both lie in one tomb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.